If everybody else mutes their microphones, we won't get feedback. So my name is Sean. I'm the Irish partner on this research project, and we have heard Igor at the start talk about emotions, and we've heard Flavia talk about experience, two very important words in the whole area of edutainment. And the guest we're going to hear from now is a lady called Jodie Hickey, who is the director of Hook Head Oyster Tours here in the southeast of Ireland. And she's going to tell us over the next 8 to 9 minutes about the whole idea of creating an experience around oyster farming and having their visitors come and experience their oysters. So over to you, Jodie.
Thanks very much, Sean. Hi, everybody. As Sean said, my name is Jodie Hickey. I'm the Director of Experiences at Hookhead Oysters. We are a working oyster farm on the southeast coast of Ireland. The farm itself has been in operation for about 38 years, but with a changing global landscape, coupled with the uncertainty of climate change, we have decided through really necessity to diversify from our wholesale model of production to a more diversified approach to insulate us from shocks. And one of these approaches is tourism. Since this is a very globally nascent industry, the first thing was, well, what does everybody else do? Okay, so I want to build an experience. How do I start? So we looked around in Ireland, and there's only a handful of operators on the West Coast who are actually doing oyster tours. They're quite technical. So then I wanted to see what people who were a little bit further along were doing. So I carried out an ethnographic study from 500 reviews based on 3 countries of what is perceived to be an authentic oyster farm tour, which was really, really illuminating, which was going to help me build my own experience. Through this study, I learned that the tourists experienced an authentic oyster farm tour was experienced through 9 dimensions that could fall under 3 constructs, which was connection, engagement, and uniqueness. And the mode which this was experienced through was people, place, and the product. So there we had our framework to start building our tours. So what we did was made sure to cover everybody's interests. We made sure those 3 elements were included when designing. Now we are very, very young in our business, and we're learning all the time. So we started with kind of the number 1 essential thing was the tour would be carried out by myself and my husband, because we are authentic oyster farmers. Another thing that's really important to our story, because we actually went and did a couple of oyster farm tours, and they are extremely technical, very, very interesting to some people. It's how does an oyster grow? But very little of the story of, like, why are you here and how did you come to be? So we thought we'd go heavily into my husband's story of how he came to this. He literally created something from nothing. 80s Ireland was very impoverished. He wanted to stay at home. He wasn't going to be a teacher. And all the carpenters had left to build in England. So he started this. People thought he was insane. His story is so interesting. So we that's how we start our tour. We tell the story of us, and we let people know this is how we send our children to college. This is what pays our mortgage. We are in a very, very rural area that was lacking industry. And this helped us stay in a place that we love. The next, that's the connection from the people to us. And then the connection is made from the people to the place by the scenery. It's so immersive. You get really rare bird species. We're so lucky to work in this environment. The sounds, the smells, it's really, really quite unique. So it's a very immersive experience that connects you. One thing that was really interesting from the study I did, but we would see it every day, is sustainability on our tour is not something we educate people about. You feel it, you see it. You understand that our business hasn't changed in 36 years. There really is only one way to farm oysters. We're very tied to licensing. We're not very industrial. So it is a felt thing. We've had people go away and say, they love the fact that it's protected. that they can come back in 10, 15 years and the place isn't going to be destroyed, because oysters, by their own nature, they're filter feeders, they protect the environment. Because we're there, the government has to protect that water as well. Engagement is made through people, generally the camaraderie with each other, because tasting an oyster, especially if it's your first time, it's really bonding. It can come straight back out. It's so unique, it's so different. Watching someone taste an oyster is so much fun, and it's something that I don't think I'm ever going to tire of watching. It is, but it really does bond you as a group to watch somebody eat their first oyster. And then uniqueness. So we have an in-water experience where you get to learn how to shuck an oyster. There are so many different theories on how you should shuck an oyster, the best way to shuck an oyster, especially coming from different cultures. These are generally all exchanged on a tour. You'll have someone who says, no, that's not the way you do it. This is the way we do it. There's many different ways to get into an oyster, and why you do it in a certain way. But to experiencing eating a product where it grew is so special. I'm not sure in the other countries you are, but when the blackberries come out in the blackberry bushes and you get to forage and eat on the spot, I mean, it really can delay you for hours or whatever journey you're supposed to be on, because you're there eating off blackberries. But oysters is exactly the same. It's a really, really special, immersive experience. You're standing in the water, you feel the pressure of the waders, which is really unusual, that there's cold water, but you're not cold. We take that for granted. That's the environment we work in. But for other people, that's something they've never felt before. You can feel the water, it's cold, but you're still warm, and the pressure of that tide against you. Also, the knowledge that our workplace disappears twice a day. We have such a small time that's everybody's desks generally will still be there. They work a 9 to 5. So it really is coming away from a normal, known workplace, and it gives people a good sense of understanding of the hard work, the effort that goes in to producing an oyster, and then the landscape that shapes the taste of that oyster. Like, oysters are very much like wine. An oyster on the East Coast tastes completely different to an oyster on the West Coast. We were in Letterfrack this weekend. We had the pleasure of tasting Connemara oysters, extremely sweet. Like, they are so sweet, whereas ours are really earthy, really, you'd be comparing it to like a white wine and a red wine. Ours are very, very deep. They're very rich, whereas the Letterfrack are so salty sweet. It's that type of learning that, oh, okay, I have tasted oysters, but I haven't tasted your oysters. So that's how we've built our experience, and we will carry on tweaking as we go, as we learn. Thank you, everybody, for the time.
Thanks.
Any questions or?
Thank you, Jodie. We're not going to pause for questions because we're on a very tight schedule, but thank you.